morning to you all. It's Sunday again and it's time for Uber. Sundays seem to come round so quickly. Now I expect you've noticed that it is almost December. So that means it's nearly time for advent calendars and Christmas jumpers. I bet you can't wait. I'm looking forward to getting mine out. So today we're continuing with the story of Joseph. Now I wonder what's going to happen to him next. We'll be hearing more about that from our friends at Saddleback. Now you will see several different Uber leaders today. Now there is something quite worrying about one of them. Keep your eyes open, and if you notice anything a little unusual, please do email me, explain what it is, and we'll give you a shout out, and possibly there could be a prize. So keep your eyes open. Now it's time to answer that big question from last week. Who is the mummy that we showed you? Are you ready for this? Here we go. Let's find out who's the mummy. So last week we asked you to tell us who you thought the mummy was, one of your Uber leaders. So now it's time to find out who is the mummy. Oh.
Yay!
Well, I don't think you were expecting that. Well, that was so much fun, wasn't it? I think some of you might have been a little surprised. It's amazing what you can do these days, you know. Now, I expect you can probably guess why we chose to have a mummy, can't you? Joseph is in Egypt. So there's been lots going on in this story. Strange dreams, a deep pit, then Joseph became a slave, and last week he ended up in prison, of all places. This led us to think about how sometimes things don't happen and sometimes they just don't make sense. But in it all, God has a plan, and his plans always come to pass. There is more that we can learn about this, but first, let's go over and see what two of your crazy Uber leaders have been up to.
Hey Katie, what are we doing here today?
I mean, it looks like we've got some marshmallows, Will.
Do you know what they're for?
I mean, I just want to eat them.
Well, it's a good job. I've got a message from Elizabeth. So we've got our Minute to Win It challenge.
I'm definitely going to win this one.
It's a marshmallow face challenge. We have 1 minute to make ourselves look as beautiful as possible with marshmallows.
It's not hard.
And see how many we can stick on our face at any time. I'm not sure it will improve my face, but shall we have a go?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Okay.
Ready, steady.
I'm the winner! Bye.
Hello there, Gordon the Good News Bible, here to tell you part of the Joseph story. So, Joseph was in prison and he did well there. 2 of the servants of Pharaoh were also in there with him, and they had interesting dreams that they needed to know the meaning of. God helped Joseph to tell them what the dreams meant. Joseph told the 2 servants that one of them would go back to Pharaoh's palace and become the main cupbearer. That's like a very important waiter. Joseph asked that he be remembered when he was let out of prison. The other one, he said, would return to the palace, but he would lose his life. When they left prison, what Joseph said would happen, happened. One of the servants, he died, and the other one became the cupbearer again and lived. He forgot all about Joseph. Poor old Joseph remained in the prison for another 2 years. That must have been really hard and so disappointing for him. Once again, things are not looking good. He has been forgotten by someone that he helped. But has he been forgotten by God? Let's see what happens next.
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Joseph. This is Joseph, who was the son of Israel and Rachel. But he had 11 brothers who hated him and sold him into slavery. After being put in jail, Joseph told of the future of Egypt when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, and Joseph found favor with the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh made Joseph a leader in his kingdom. Just as Joseph had told the Pharaoh, Egypt had 7 years of abundance. Then the 7 years of abundance came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began. Just as Joseph had said. But the Egyptians had food to eat because Joseph had planned for the famine. There was famine in all the other lands, and many came to Joseph to buy food. There was even a famine in the land that Joseph came from. So when Israel heard that there was grain in Egypt, he sent his sons to buy some. But Israel did not send Benjamin with the others because he was afraid that harm might come to him. When Joseph's brothers came to him, Joseph recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger. So Joseph decided to test his brothers. He had his interpreter tell them to send for Benjamin, who had stayed home. And then he threw his brothers in jail for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Joseph let all but one of the brothers take grain to their starving households with the instruction to bring Benjamin back. But Joseph provided for his brothers' journey and gave them grain and silver. The brothers did exactly as Joseph instructed, as they were scared that God was punishing them for what they had done to Joseph so many years before. They traveled home to their father's house, then back to Egypt. Now that he had seen that they brought Benjamin, Joseph was overwhelmed. So he released the brother who was still in prison. But Joseph decided to play one more trick on his brothers. He sent the brothers away but told his servant to hide his silver cup in Benjamin's bag. Then Joseph told the servant to go after the brothers and retrieve the cup. The brothers hadn't traveled far before the servant stopped them and accused them of stealing the cup. Joseph could no longer control himself before his attendants. He made them leave so he could be alone with his brothers, and he told his brothers who he really was.
Ta-da!
He told them of his life and all he had experienced, and he forgave them for what they had done. God was with Joseph and took care of him and showed him favor.
There's so much happening in this part of the story. Joseph gets out of prison because Pharaoh's had some difficult dreams. Joseph tells him what they mean, and he then becomes very important in Pharaoh's government. God gives Joseph wisdom, and he's able to manage the food in the country so that people have enough and do not starve. God was with Joseph, showing him favor and helping him in everything that he was doing. Pharaoh actually recognized that Joseph was a man that was full of the Spirit of God, and how remarkable is that? As we saw in the story, there was famine too, in the land where Joseph's family were, and so they travelled down to Egypt to get food. This is where it gets very interesting. The brothers come and bow before Joseph. Now this is really important. And can you remember why? Remember the dream that Joseph had? Well, here it is coming true. So as you saw in the story, there are now several things that happened, and it all ends up with Joseph telling his brothers who he is. They hadn't recognised him, but know who they were. Eventually, Joseph says something to his brothers that is truly remarkable. He tells them not to be worried or angry with themselves for what they did to him, because God had been behind it all and had made sure that Joseph was in Egypt so that he could save lives. You see, when things looked bad for Joseph, God was there. He was working out an amazing plan.
Do you know, I love that song. What did it say? Never give up. God is always on your side. That is exactly how it was for Joseph. God was by his side. He never left him. It looked bad, and I'm sure at times it really was bad. But God was there all the time, just as he promised to be. There's something else here that I just want you to see. Right from the very beginning of the Bible, God is called the provider. Now, a provider is someone who makes sure that you have everything you need. That might be things like food, money, clothes, shelter, or it could be things like courage, patience, and wisdom. We can see God providing in this story. The people needed food. God provided the food, and he provided Joseph with the wisdom to know how best to sort out the food problem. Can you see how God was working? The story is full of God working in ways that at first don't seem very obvious. But then the story unfolds and we begin to see it. We're almost at the end of the Joseph story, but it's not quite done yet. Now, as you go through this week, remember, as the song said, God is by your side. Remember, he's the provider, providing everything that you might need. That is what he promised, and that is what he will do. So that's it for today. So don't forget, get out those advent calendars, get out those Christmas jumpers. Maybe send us some pictures of you modelling your Christmas jumpers for this year. We'd love to see them, and we can actually decorate our set with them. So that's it for today. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, and remember, God is by your side. God bless you.